thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Well, welcome everybody to September 2nd meeting of the Economic Development Advisory Committee. Nice cool morning. I'll call the meeting to order. First of all, with the approval of the agenda, so the approval of this morning's agenda, could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Ron and Megan, thank you. And are there any conflicts of interest for this agenda today? If there are, you can declare as we go through, I guess. So we'll move on to approval of 2 sets of minutes. The first one is minutes from the July 8th Economic Development Committee Advisory Committee meeting, which you were sent. Could I have a mover and a seconder for those meetings if there are no errors or omissions? Emily, thank you. And Ron, thank you. And then approval of the minutes from the August 19th. That was just a couple of weeks ago, Economic Development Advisory Committee meeting. Again, I need a mover and a seconder.
I'll move.
Marty, thank you.
I'll second.
Karen, thanks. So assuming there are no delegations then. Okay, then we'll move on to your update. You need to unmute. There you go.
I'll pass it off to Caroline to start us off.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. I'm just going to give you a quick update on some of the projects I've been working on over the summer. I'll start with the social media stats, just to see how far we've kind of come since we started back in May. Starting with Twitter, we've been able to climb up to reaching 11,000 people, which is pretty incredible from where we started. And we're also up about 40% in mentions, which means we have a lot of accounts that are engaging with us and sharing our posts through their social media avenues, which is awesome. On Instagram, we gained 200 followers, which is awesome. And again, we're reaching upwards of almost 2,000 accounts, which is a 253% increase, which is awesome. Facebook, we gained almost 500 followers and an additional 138 likes to our page. So we're reaching a lot more people than we were a few months ago. We've also been picked up by a few larger accounts that have quite an impressive following. The biggest is probably the Weekend Route East. I believe they have over 20,000 followers and they've been able to feature a few of our businesses. Canada Takeout Day, which I run Wednesdays, has also picked up some of our stuff and been sharing it, which has been really cool. And then most recently, the Culinary Tourism Alliance, they've been picking up some of our restaurant stuff and sharing it on their page, which is great. We've also had lots of engagement in the community. That was one of my big goals when I started the social media. So we've had people tag us in photos who are visiting Brighton. So we've received photos from people who have come to Brighton from Los Angeles, New Brunswick, and people who are a little bit more local like Durham and Kingston. And then we've also been getting a lot of engagement with businesses who are tagging us and wanting us to use our kind of platforms to get their information out to the community, which is great. Our second project we were working on was the Bites of Brighton. Right now, we have 1 month left. It ends at the end of September. We've had over 60 entries, and the dollar figure that we've kind of seen is about $600. So I've been able to track, but more likely that's a way bigger number because they're just submitting a picture of, like, it could be an ice cream cone, like one ice cream cone, but they're maybe taking their whole family, but they're only submitting the picture of the one ice cream cone, which I count. So I would estimate that it's upwards of probably double $600. So $1,200 that has been spent using this program, which is great. And then the social media kind of interaction that has come from that has also been huge. We've been getting lots of hits and likes on stuff that has been created by the community involving community businesses. We've also had lots of new businesses arrive in Brighton. Ray's Bike Rentals and Repairs is the new bike rental and repair store down by Presqu'île. They are wonderful. I went down to meet them and they're really excited to kind of get going. They've been really, really busy with rentals. And then kind of attached to that is Ray's wife, Jen. She is going to be opening a Let's Get Creative vintage store. So that's coming soon. She's just kind of getting that off the ground. We have a new food trailer on, I think it's County Road 64. The Screaming Blue food trailer, I've been able to contact them, and they're doing a different approach. They're doing a year-round food trailer, so that will be really interesting to see. They've invited us out to sample their new fall menu, which they use local produce and ingredients, which is really cool. Laura's Lodge is another new one that's kind of getting off the ground. And she's invited us up to see that later in the fall. And then we also have Linda's Little Red Shed, which is on Little Lake Road, and she is a new business as well. Next thing we have done is start up the Brighton events calendar, which has been used a lot recently by local businesses looking to get their events out. So I know there's been a few pottery workshops put on there, some local yard sales. I put the COVID-19 vaccine clinics and a whole bunch of other community things I've just come across online. So I've been putting that up, and that gets packaged up and sent into an email that goes out to people who are subscribed to the calendar, which I've also been pushing. And then I guess moving forward for the fall plans, Laura and I are trying to do some social media classes for local businesses. Just from what I've seen in working with local businesses, I think there's a real need for this. And by no means are we experts, but we think that we have a few things that we can show businesses how to do that make their lives a little bit easier and make our lives easier as a result, helping them to get their product or service out and people visiting Brighton. And I think that's it for my update.
Thanks, Caroline. I'll take it over from here. Just a few odds and ends. Oh, and another thing to maybe mention is we have extended Caroline's contract to finish out 2021. We're able to do that. So another 4 months or so for sure, maybe see what happens after that. So really excited to have Caroline for a little bit longer for sure. We ran a radio campaign with Starboard Media throughout the summer. Basically, it was a shop local campaign with radio ads and into their digital as well. So anytime you see an In Quinte news headline on your Facebook or Twitter, and you click on it, it'll bring you to that news story, and then there's all those little ads that surround that news story, and we were one of those ads for about 6 or 8 weeks or so. So through that just the digital campaign alone, we generated 31,000 impressions. Out of that, about 200 clicks directly to our business directory. So that was 200 new faces that looked up a contact information on our business directory at our website. So it's not cheap anytime you're dealing with a bigger media corporation, but I think once a year, twice a year, generally I try to run those in the summer, and then again at the holiday season. I think it's very well, it's earned media, I guess. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that. We had some pretty positive news in regards to our residual wastewater capacity. We sent out a press release last week. I'm not sure if anyone saw it come through the wire, but basically we're in good shape for the next decade or so. And through that time, we are going to be looking to upgrade and make sure we're in even better shape for longer than that. So that was a study done by a very reputable firm, and was given to council. I don't know, maybe someone can help me here. Maybe the July meeting or the August 16th meeting. I can't really remember right now, but we wanted to get that good news out to the community.
I think it was the August meeting, but I don't recall exactly.
Yeah. So that was a good news story for sure. There's going to be a CIP draft to planning meeting on September 13th. From the little bit I've got to read about it so far, it's pretty much in line with what Paul presented to us a couple months ago. So tune in to that meeting, or just look up the agenda on online when that comes up, and you'll be able to see the full draft CIP, which I think is going to be huge for our community. In the last week or so, we found out that OMAFRA is going to be offering another RED grant. So the intake's going to be up until late October, I believe. And good news for us is 30% capital projects are going to be eligible. So we think maybe there's an opportunity here for our canteen retrofit concept. So we'll be working away at a application for that to get some funding. We've been working with Bay of Quinte Regional Marketing Board on an experiential tourism project. So we had applications from all of the partner municipalities and the Mohawks of the Bay of Quinte. Fortunately, Megan at the Tin Roof was chosen through Bay of Quinte for that program. So between Megan and myself and all the other partner municipalities, we are going through a series of workshops. Last week we were involved in one, just a quick story, but really interesting, through a fellow up in Tillsonburg, Norfolk County, that has an experience where people come into his property, use his shop, and make their own charcuterie boards. It's called Otter Creek Woodworking, I believe, and his name was Dave Schonenberg. Just an incredible presentation. Please look it up if you get a moment. But essentially, you go in there, he's got bacon cooking. He takes you right out in the forest, tells you the story about the generations of his family that have worked in the forest. You actually use his grandfather's tools to create your board, and then you all sit down and have a meal together with your group. So he's sort of told us how he navigated through COVID, and I was really captivated by that presentation. I think it was really cool. So we're getting Megan in the experiential realm. She's got some big plans to grow her business in the next little while. I don't want to give too much away, but I think it was a really good candidate, being a downtown business with and a young entrepreneur. So that's working out really well. Not sure how many people know about this, but we have a really prestigious rowing event coming through the Bay of Quinte region in 2022. It's a pro series rowing event that is using basically Gananoque all the way to Brighton waters. So they're actually coming to visit Brighton next Wednesday, I believe. They're having lunch at the Harbor View. It's about a party of 30 to take in Brighton. I'm gonna stop by and meet a couple of the representatives coming. So really exciting. That'll be about a year from now, late August, early September is when that event is. So world-class rowers from all across the world coming to this region. There's going to be another vaccine clinic on September the 9th out in Codrington. And then we're looking at a few more vaccine clinics later on in September. So Caroline and I are working away at getting that word out to the best of our ability, and making sure those doses are used up every time one of these clinics pop up in Brighton, whether it be in Codrington or at the King Edward Arena or wherever that might be. Childcare expansion, I'm sure everyone's heard by now, but a $1.2 million investment into the Brighton Child Care Center. This will upgrade the learning environment and will offer additional spaces into the actual program for more children, because there'll be more space. And to complement that, Northumberland County is investing over $300,000 to a new kitchen that will be included in that program and that project. So really good news story for Brighton there. And then I'll leave you with this. The Applefest committee has made a recommendation to council for the September 7th council meeting. to run a series of very small events on the day in which Applefest would have been held, which is September 25th, helping out some service clubs and just getting some musical ambiance throughout the downtown that day, welcoming businesses to utilize their sidewalks and doing the best we can with the circumstances we are dealt with, even though it can't be a regular Applefest. So the concept is a celebrate Brighton kind of theme. So those are my updates over the last month or so.
Thank you, Ben. I wanted to ask you about the First Impressions program and how many we have done or committed to date.
Well, I know Caroline went yesterday. Other than that, I haven't received any.
I'm actually going on Tuesday.
Okay.
Cool.
I'm going on Wednesday.
Okay.
Are you,
so-
Laura? Okay.
Yep.
Is there
Can
anyone
you,
else?
being new to this, can you tell me a little bit more about the First Impressions group? I'm not familiar with that.
Sure. So it's a program through the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Affairs, where they match two communities together, generally of similar size and geographic.
Oh, this is the Napanee thing.
That's right.
Yes. Okay, I'm sorry, I understand.
So
I'm
did you
gonna
want me to continue, or are you okay, Karen? Or?
No, I'm familiar. I wasn't.
Okay.
I didn't connect the title to the activity. I'm going
Okay.
to go as well next week.
Okay.
So how many did you need, Ben? Is that sufficient or did you want more?
Yeah, if there's 4 or 5,
Yeah.
it's a long survey. So
Mhm.
for me to and Caroline to throw the data together and to create a presentation, the more the harder. But we do also want a good cross section of experiences too, right? So
Caroline, when you went, how long did it take? Because there's a lot in that survey that says you need to talk to people and ask them about schools or about education and or hospitals and things like that. Like, how long did it take for you to do that?
Yeah, so I went kind of like later in the afternoon yesterday, and I went down and I just like went into some businesses and chatted with like business owners and talked to them about like, their experience in downtown. I pretended to kind of be a tourist and like ask for recommendations about where to go. So like someone recommended the Loaf and Ale for lunch. So we went there and then we talked to the server there. But a lot of it was also just kind of driving around and experiencing it in that way. So like we went downtown, got out, walked around, and then we went to the industrial park, got out, walked around, and just went into different businesses. It didn't really take that long. I wouldn't say that like as extensive as the survey is, I think you can kind of draw conclusions from like speaking to a few people. It honestly wasn't that labor intensive, I found.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's my intention to go as well. I haven't been able to go up to now, but I can see some free time next week or What is your deadline, Ben?
Well, it's not anything pressing because Napanee is in search of a role similar to mine. So this isn't really on their high priorities as of this moment. So, I mean, I don't think we'll be doing the report back until well into October. So I would say
Okay.
we've got a good 2 weeks to 3 weeks to getting people there, and then another 2 weeks after that for Caroline and I to put together the report back.
Okay, so are there any other questions for Ben on anything that he's reported on or anything else at this point? Emily?
Thank you. Part of Caroline's report, Caroline, you said you were working with Laura on some social media thing with, I'm assuming with Chamber of Commerce members. Could you just expand on that a little bit? And is that something that we could invite DBIA in as well?
Yeah, so I did invite Ashley. I sent her an email along with the link, and I think she's shared it on your Facebook page. But essentially what Laura and I are trying to do is we've kind of identified a few kind of gaps that we're seeing in the businesses that are posting. So what we're proposing right now is 4 workshops We're going to cover things like analytics, scheduling, how to make powerful posts, and other tools that might help make things a little bit easier. But yeah, absolutely, the DBI is more than welcome to jump on board. And I did include Ashley in the initial send out of the survey.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anything else for Ben?
I just want to mention, I'm actually at 11 o'clock today, sitting in a webinar for that OMAFRA grant I mentioned, just a little information session on that grant. So that'll be interesting.
Okay, thank you. So I guess we'll move into the DBIA update. Megan, you're up.
Libby,
Yeah.
sorry, could I get you to do a motion to accept the update for information?
Do you need a motion for each one of the reports?
I took a look at some previous minutes, and it does look like that's what is in the previous minutes from
Okay.
before I
I
started.
don't think we've done that, but we can. So
Okay.
will we do all three and then accept them, or one at a time?
It looks as though they've done them for each, unless some, like the ones that I looked at, if there was a DBI, if there wasn't a DBI update, then obviously you don't have a mover and a seconder for those.
Okay, so mover and seconder right now for the municipal update. Is that right?
Please.
Okay, could I have a mover? Megan, thank you. Seconder, please, and Ron, thank you. And now we will have the DBIA update with Megan.
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah, so not a whole lot going on. Well, some things, but mostly, some things we touched on. So the Apple Fest committee also reached out to the DBIA and wanted us to participate in the upcoming meeting, most likely for the same reason. They're wanting to put on minor events and include the DBIA in it. We discussed the purchase of shipping containers for the public rinks, which we did last year as well. I don't know if anybody went to any of them, but we had 3 outdoor rinks. One of them was in King Edward, one of them was in Codrington, and I can't remember where the other one was. But we discussed purchasing shipping containers for kind of like a warming station with like a bench and like a place to put your skates on. So yeah, we went over that. All of our Casey Lane projects have been completed. We put benches up. I don't know if anybody noticed. It looks very nice now. That awful Primus graffiti was covered with children's art, which was pretty good. Apparently that graffiti's been there for about 20 years. So that's impressive. We've also been doing music on Main all summer. I don't know if anybody else noticed that. And it's been pretty well received by the community. We were nervous that people were we were nervous about this last year too, that people were gonna not think that it was the most COVID safe thing to do, but it turns out everybody needs a little pick me up, and it was well enjoyed and well received. So that's good. We've been receiving suggestions to update our town maps. I don't know if anybody has seen our town maps. We usually hand them out at businesses. I quite like them. I find them extremely handy. So we took suggestions to do that. So to update those because they're in need of it. So if anybody has any suggestions, I think we pretty much covered them all, but if you notice anything. And last but not least, we have inclusivity flags for downtown Brighton. It was all the idea of Gina Boyd. She wanted, after the graffiti on the rainbow sidewalk, Gina wanted to print out inclusivity flags for businesses to hang up. I don't know if it extends beyond the businesses. I think it is mostly just businesses, but I don't think it's necessarily downtown businesses. You can pick them up either from me, from G Boyd, or I think Kathy at the bookstore has some. They're just these flags that say welcome to Brighton, and they're kind of meant to be like make everybody feel safe and welcome type thing. That was just a little side thing we did. We weren't planning on it. We just did it the last month. And they're eagerly awaiting my Napanee report, which I haven't done yet. because unfortunately everything in Napanee is closed on Sundays, which is like my only day off. So when the ice cream shop shuts down for a few weeks, I'll be able to go. That's why I'm going on Tuesday. So that's pretty much it. What we covered. I don't know if I missed anything. I don't think I did. That's about it. Oh, you're
Sorry.
muted.
Yes, thank you. Are there any questions for Megan? Okay, so we need a.
Can I grab one of those
sorry, yes.
flags from you, Megan?
Absolutely, you can.
I'll pop down today sometime.
Yeah.
Megan,
Okay, so yes, Ron.
Megan mentioned maps. I believe there's a map already been just produced by the chamber. Maybe they can enlighten us on that. There was a map being produced this past summer,
Yes.
past spring. So,
Yeah.
So
Rob,
that
that
was
was sorry. That was sure. That was the old project previously, and it's separate from the DBIA map. Ours is just a tearaway map for like tourists. It's not as fancy necessarily as like the chamber map is quite nice. Ours is just more for people who don't feel like using their phones or Google.
and my map project, that is the last thing that is still Sherry's baby. So Sherry is still lending some time to the chamber. So that is the last thing that's hers. I'm working with her to get it wrapped up. She's working with the Historical Society on that one.
so is that expected to be out this fall?
I don't have an answer yet. Until Sherry has an answer, I don't have an answer. But as soon as I do have one, I can update everybody.
As long as people can find their way out of Casey's Lane, we'll be all right.
Okay, thanks, Megan. So I guess we need a mover and a seconder for that report as well, Jessica. Yes. Okay, Ron and Karen, thank you. So now Laura, Chamber of Commerce, you're up.
So I don't have much of an update. My one big thing is working with Caroline on that social media course idea. I'm really excited about that. We've been getting some pretty good responses on social media so far. People seem to be wanting to join in, so that's great. Another big one is the big grant that we should be receiving from the Ontario Chambers of Commerce. I'm working with the other 3 Northumberland chambers as a team to get that rolling out. We had to resubmit and tweak our claim or our application. So we should be hearing a yay very soon. And once that does roll out, the first thing we're going to do is work with Ben and Caroline to kind of enhance your shop local idea. The entire grant was based on a shop local idea, and I know that you guys are already doing a really great one, so I want to not compete with it and enhance it. So we'll work together on beefing it up. Oh, and the last thing, there will be, because the election's coming up, I'm working with the Northumberland Chambers on an all candidates meeting. This will be my first kind of election effort of any kind. And I mentioned to them, I'm only 26, so I've only voted 2-3 times in my whole life. So I'm doing my best. And there will be some sort of chamber members, all candidates meeting webinar that will be available to all after the fact. So we're going to work on asking our businesses what kind of questions they would like us to ask on behalf of them, and make sure that they are represented.
Laura, do you know when that date is, when that webinar will be on?
The tentative date is 3rd week of September. So
Well,
not long before the voting date.
Okay. All right. That's great. Are there any other questions for Laura on the chamber? Okay. Thank you, Laura. Motion to approve Laura's report. Karen, thank you. Seconder. Marty, thank you. Okay, so we'll move on to correspondence. I don't think there is any that I saw. Ben, is there any correspondence? Nope. Okay. So new business, and I had a couple of things that I wanted to bring up, and one is about agritourism, because just like everybody else, I suppose, been traveling around this area more than I probably would have. And there is so much, and Marty can chime in on this as well. There's so much in terms of what to see and do and experiences and that sort of thing in agriculture, whether it's, you know, the donkey farm or alpacas or on farms with, you know, farm markets and that sort of thing. There's an awful lot that I wasn't aware of. And I was just wondering, is it something in terms of your tourism plan that you have in front, either in print, on your website, social media, that sort of thing? I think we could be not branding ourselves, but we could be promoting ourselves more as an outdoor agritourism kind of area. Are there any comments on that? Anybody else feel the same way?
Actually, that's part of what we were learning in this experiential tourism kind of like think tank was it's not just necessarily about one business. It's about how they can all like interplay into one another, and not even businesses really. Like the one that I was like super inspired by was this farm. I forget where it was, but it was this farm that kind of partners with a bunch of other places to bring in like, you know, seasonal stuff. And then in the winter, they do kind of like a sort of like a taster table. And it's all this kind of, and I've been thinking about it with my own stuff, like how can me and other businesses related to food sort of incorporate the agricultural and maybe create like, it's so, I'm sorry, I'm trying to find like a nice succinct way to put this in, because experiential tourism is like this really sort of not firm, non-formulaic like thing. And so I think with I'm super into that idea, Libby, that like, you know, incorporating this like experience also into the farm, the agricultural sector, because I do agree that that there is a lot to be seen there. And I think that we're just like, I could be way off here. Ben, chime in, feel free. But I think that we're like on the cusp of like doing that and including those things. It's just, we're just getting our feet wet here in the experiential tourism stuff. I don't know that much about it. I'm about to learn more, but we'll see.
Yeah, and you know, there's a lot of farm to table experiences. Marty, do you have anything to add to that? It just seems to me that there's a heck of a lot out there that is not tied together, you know? There's
already some in the Quinte, because I was chosen for Brighton, but there's some in Quinte that were chosen that are farms. Right. Yeah, it's not just, I'm like the only restaurant, well, not the only, but I'm one of the only restaurants, which was bizarre.
Marty?
I know like Cheer Farms, when they have their sunflowers out, a lot of people come from all around just for the pictures. So you got the people there, and then like the corn maze is very popular, just seasonal. But if you could get those people to move along further in town and, you know, to other businesses and that, you know, there's attraction there. So there is a lot of markets all over the place.
It just seems to be a lot, like even in the winter with maple syrup and stuff like that. But there's, you know, you can just travel throughout the county and just buy, even like food truck tours and that sort of thing. It's all local stuff, farmers markets. It just seems to be so much. I've never lived in an area where it's so rich in agricultural assets and farm animals and things like that. So are you taking initiatives on that, Ben? Is that something that we could do going forward, or is it already being done?
Yeah, I mean, everything can always be a little more, but it's definitely being done. We've done a lot of features on Crinklewood and Cheer in the last year or so. Pecuniary and Northumberland County Tourism have both done a lot of work with some of those more mainstream agritourism, more established ones that we do have going. Having a second set of hands such as Caroline has definitely added an awareness factor to what's coming down the pipe and what's opening. But the Codrington Farmers Market, I don't think, I can't speak because I've only been here 2 years now, but the relationship's never been as strong as it is now. We do an awful lot of promotion marketing for them. We buy them ad space. We've done vendor profiles. Caroline's taken the initiative of actually sitting down with a few vendors and teaching them more about social media and digital marketing campaign structures. So it's definitely in our day-to-day operation mindset. And it's more just about finding out who else is out there.
Do you think there's any value in thinking about, as the county does various tours, like the wine tour route? So you have like route signs that are throughout this area so that you could go from one to the other. Or, if you see that sign that there's something of value, some experience or something like that inside, there's washrooms, there's parking, that kind of stuff. Is there maybe in the future that we could consider that?
There was a concept years ago, and maybe Councillor Rowley or Mayor Ostrander could help me on this one, but there was a concept years ago called the Apple route. And
Ben, I was around when that Apple route.
And not really sure where it went kind of by the wayside or what happened to it, but and I think it was
the same group. The same group, sort of. It's like a lot of organizations. And excuse me if I interrupt, but I was on the original committee with that. That sort of stemmed from Peter's Apple Yard out of Coburn. Coburn sort of stimulated that concept, and it flowed through Trenton Chamber of Commerce, grabbed it, and it as well as Brighton Chamber of Commerce, and that's why you still see signs along number 2 saying Apple Route, and people, should have a question mark behind it. But anyhow, it was very active at one time. And that's the day of the antique stores were everywhere. And people, there was little shops all over, and the day of the antique shopping is sort of, antiques haven't gone away, but I mean, there's just fewer people doing that, or merchants as such in this area, in Brighton area. So the idea was to visit those antique shops, visit wherever apples were. The apple was the bread and butter of Brighton for one time, and Coburn, and all the way through there. So it was quite a good image. We had some great promotions going on. There was contests going on. Travel the Apple route, stay on the Apple route. A couple of hotels.
Biking was a big thing, I think, at the time. Ron?
What's that?
Biking.
Yeah, you could tie. See, that's where you tie all these things in. So you've got the hook, and then you use that, and so it's like a wine route. Well, we don't have a wine route, and I'd like to see a wine route someday. And apparently our soil's fine for it, and someone could establish something soon. But then we tie into the other wine route. So that's sort of the concept. So the apple root would be nice to bring it back. Apples are coming back. There's more apple growing now. There was a time, that's what killed it, was when a lot of these orchards were dismantled for, I can't remember the exact reason. It was the market was actually part of it, but I think there was something to do with the trees as well. So I'm not going to get into that because I don't know enough about that, but that's what sort of knocked it down a bit too. With no apple trees, pretty crazy to have an apple root. But now you see a lot of apple trees again. They're coming back.
It wouldn't even have to be an apple root. It could be, the theme could be more about agriculture and just about the culture here in terms of agriculture, animal farming, that sort of thing, that, and apples, of course, would be a part of it. But I just think there's so much to see and do around here that people coming from the city go to our park, then they don't know what to do. It'll be something that I think would be perfect, would fit into spreading them around a bit and spreading the dollars around as well. Karen, did you have anything to say about your experience with the previous apple route?
Not about that as much, and I was on the committee for that too. I really like the idea of apple root. I would just rebrand it to expand, like you said, Libby, into many more of the agricultural experiences. I think that if we're going to attract tourism from a little farther away, they need to have a route of sort. They need to have several things to do during that day rather than just going to one. If we could somehow brand it as a I don't know if it's agriculture, if it's a small town experience, if it's a farming experience, but it's
like rural routes. That's what it would be. It would be rural routes. Yeah.
Actually, a rural route, the brand rural route would be kind of interesting to capitalize on, really, when you think of that. But to give a family, and we have lots of them wanting to visit from a couple of hours drive away, something to do for the whole day. You go here, then you go there. So it's exactly what the apple route was designed to do, but using, I mean, there's not enough apple orchards around, I don't think, more to just do that.
Marty?
About 15 years ago, we used to have one or 2 days, and it was called Rural Ramble. And all across Northumberland County, you could tour different farms, sheep, dairy, beef. And I think Kathy McCann had a lot to do with organizing it, but it sort of faded out after a while. It was quite a bit of work to organize it. And you needed, every farm, you needed people as tour guides to help out. And then you sort of explain the agriculture, and it was very successful. Like, I don't know, at least had I think close to at least 1,000 people a day from outside, from the city to experience the farm and explain things. And I don't know if we could ever do that again, but.
When we live in a small, all of us, you live in a small town, I don't think we appreciate how exciting it is for people from the city to come in and just stand at the fence and look at cows or horses or go through cornfields. We're used to that. So, but I do think that we can capitalize on that in some way, which leads.
I was going to say, I agree. Shortly after we moved here, we went to the alpaca farm down the road, and here they were having yoga with alpacas. I mean, who do that? That would be real. And people were there. People had come out from the city. She did her own marketing, and people had come out from the Toronto area to do that, to do yoga and have llamas running or alpacas running over you. It was a big hit. Ron?
I mean, you made a point earlier about when people come here from out of town, to stay for a couple of days or something, and they wonder what to do. Our mayor made a comment one time. I don't forget. If somebody could capture an idea that would drag all those hundreds of thousands of people out of our provincial park, get them out of their tent, and have them tour our area and spend some of their beautiful money in our area, we'd have a gold mine. And you didn't put it that way, but that was your point, wasn't it, Mayor?
That's exactly my point, Councillor Anderson. Thank you.
I think
but even if we don't drag them out of their tents, even if we inspire them to come back in a couple of weeks or next year, and not maybe go down to Presqu'île, but enjoy a B&B and enjoy the things that we have to offer in the community, that would be equally impressive and equally good for the local economy. So, anything we can do to inspire that extra 100,000 people we get every year to buy something in our local stores would be great. And if someone can figure out what that magic sauce is, there's a pat on the back for you. That's it. That's about all I can offer.
I think it starts with just like openness to collaborate. Like, people need to be willing to work together and put aside certain differences for the greater good of like the community. Because ultimately collaboration is where it's going to come down. And, Marty was saying that it was one lady that was organizing the whole rural tour. Like, that's way too much work. But if everybody could just do a little bit, or commit to just doing a little bit, or representing different factions to promote these kinds of tours, I think that you could make it work. Dare I say, another committee. or just
Well,
this
Or a
committee.
subcommittee,
you-
yeah.
You're making a point, Megan. I think, we've got to look back sometimes, and we're talking Apple, we're really looking back, but those committees really made things happen back there. And if they were around in this day and age with all the multimedia and everything, I can't imagine what they'd be doing. It would be incredible. So I think tourism is got to be on top of our list. That we're doing great with, we've been the restaurants and the small shops and that, promoting them. And Libby made a good point. So our tourism should be one of our largest items on our economic committee going forward, where we can get out and get people moving again. And we should be ready for that. And and I like the agri tours, all those things. They became very popular again 10 years ago. So it's time to stir that all up again and be ready for when everybody can get together again. So,
Mr. Mayor?
anyway.
Thank you. Don't push away the idea of a separate team or I won't call it a committee, but a separate group. There are things that groups can do that government sometimes can't, or that sometimes government is slow to do. We're a lot easier in a supportive role, I think, from a local government point of view than getting things done. So, if there's a team or a group or a bunch of interested people who want to do this, I think it's easy for Ben and his team and our committee here to say, let's support that, than it is to say, let's start that. We can get really bogged down in what the gears of local government. Let me just say it that way.
I think I'd like to point out, I think the timing is excellent on this as well. We've all noticed over the last couple or year or two, you wouldn't think that COVID would have a benefit in any way, but it certainly has, from a perspective of recognizing that people want to be outdoors, want to get out with their families and do things in a more rural setting. And here we are, and I think the timing is exactly right to capitalize on this. Mayor, I think you're right in that we shouldn't be the doers of this, but we could be the encouragers, if for want of a better word, to the actual people who are involved in the agricultural activities. It seems to me from the apple route, there were a couple of people from the municipal perspective that were driving it or helping it, but most of the people on there were actually people who were from the farms, from the apple orchards, who were directing the activities in that way. So I guess we need to determine how we can not lead the effort, but perhaps be responsible for marketing this idea to some of the providers of the agricultural experiences, and perhaps giving them a space to organize so that they can have meetings, etc.
Okay, Emily, did you have a comment?
I just wanted to kind of expand on what the mayor said and maybe what Megan said regarding collaboration. I think this committee has already done that in many positive ways, as far as bringing both the chamber and the DBIA and those groups that are interested. Having sat on some of these in previous years, we were kind of a silo mentality, and the idea that we bring this collaborative group together to encourage other groups to collaborate with us or with other groups has been a big positive this summer. I think we've jumped leaps and bounds already with both Ben and Caroline. Ben, congratulations for keeping Caroline on. Caroline, I'm so glad that you're staying. So let's talk about this at budget time, Mayor. I think this has been a big positive move already for us this summer, and just the mindset of our group to move these things forward, I think will carry us a lot farther.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other comments or any other new business?
I'd like to bring up something. Being new to this committee, I was looking through the minutes, etc., to try to determine whether your strategic direction regarding tourism, regarding economic development. Perhaps this has already been done, but have you given any thought to putting together a 5-year plan on just where we wanted to go with tourism, with economic development? As I say, I think this is a critical time. I see so much expansion, so much building expansion. We're talking, I appreciated all your reports today on things are happening. What are our plans in the 5 years? Do we want to just go whole hog with everything? Is there some point when we are attracting too much business or too many tourists, so it affects the small town atmosphere? Have you had discussion on that? I'm pointing that out because you've probably seen in the past couple of years now, there's been much discussion about smaller towns being overwhelmed with visitors in the summer and creating some kind of problem sometimes, that kind of thing. It's probably important for us to look at this thing from a long-term perspective, or even a 2 to 5 year out perspective, to see what directions we want to go in relating to tourism, relating to economic development. Are we ready for that?
I think that's a very good point, Karen. Like, where do we want to go? How big do we want to be? Do we want to keep growing our business community, or do we want to grow our natural assets, our waterfront, and that sort of thing? Is there a strategic plan, Ben, or is there one in the works, or what are the thoughts on that?
We just did a strategic plan refresh in March. It's all up online. I think it leads us right into 2026 or so.
And is that for the department itself, Ben, or is it for the municipality?
That's for the municipality, but there's a specific specific parts for each department. So I guess I encourage you to have a look at the document, but if the entire economic development. So I've been using that sort of to get me started in the last couple of years.
Could that be sent to the committee, Ben? Could the economic development portion be sent to the committee?
Sure. I guess to answer the original question, to go spend $50,000 to $100,000 on an economic development tourism strategy for 5, 10 years out, I don't think is a good use of public money at this time. I think we're leveraging the corporate-wide strategic plan at the moment, and we're still very new in this game. We're only 2 years in, so maybe 2 years down the road, we're getting there, coming hopefully fully out of COVID, and seeing where that brings us. But I think continuing to leverage our partners at Pecuniary in Northumberland and QEDC, because at the end of the day, just because I hired one more staff to this department doesn't mean we're flush with resources and flush with dollars. And you'll see that that's one of the major points is to continue to build and leverage relationships, because that at the end of the day is what's going to get things done. So that's just my take on it. If council has a different direction on it and wants to see that, we can talk about it at budget time. But yeah.
Ben, I wasn't suggesting that we hire a consultant at all for $100,000 to do a formal strategic plan. I was thinking more of having like perhaps expanding one of our meetings to a 2-hour meeting where we could just have some basic talking points on direction, etc. Doing it in our own community, our own committee. But I'll sure have a look at what's been developed and the refresh lately. Sure.
I do agree with you, Karen. I feel like just like maybe a loose benchmark of like what is too much growth. Cause like it's funny just talking about even the agro-tourism, all I thought about was that farm in Milton, Chumley's, that just has become so commercialized that it's like a shadow of its former self. And I get scared sometimes thinking about like what point is at what point do we sacrifice our integrity for the name of like, you know, tourism and exponential growth or whatever. So I think a night, like to your point, Karen, I think a nice like loose, maybe not loose, but like, you know, like a discussion around like what the limitations are and what the expectations are is probably a pretty good idea. Just so we have a vague idea of what we want to do.
Well, wouldn't this actually come from council as to what direction the municipality goes in terms of growth? If it wants to focus on, I mean, council, mayor and council that would set that, not this committee. We could definitely provide the input. Well, wouldn't it be council that would decide, yes, we want to increase residential growth, or we want to expand our tourism potential, or our business base, or we want to do something with the business part? Wouldn't that be part of your overall strategic planning process, Councillor Anderson?
Unless the mayor would like to chime, he's probably got some things on his mind right now. I don't want to, just from my perspective, we have a strategic plan. We spent a lot of time on that strategic plan. We refreshed it this year. We're staying on top of it. It's not something collecting dust on a shelf somewhere. Our plan includes recreation, includes tourism, includes economic growth, meaning business growth. Our industrial park is booming. You'll see the results of the hard work that's gone into bringing that back up to a standard and having it prepared for new business. That type of growth is needed. We need the funds for what you need to do to run a municipality nowadays, and the costs all going up. So we need to make sure that happens as well. So it's not all about housing and development that way. It's also about bringing people here to do business and keep our downtown vibrant as well. If we have too many tourists and no one and there's stores closing, something's wrong somewhere. Again, they're still in the tent. So we still need to maintain that, and we need to keep ourselves in the economic marketplace until if we need to put the brakes on something, well, let's stop advertising. Let's stop social media. If it's too much, then we're doing too much. So I don't think we are. We have a very good strategic plan. And we can tweak it, and other councils will probably tweak it as well as we move along as well. And then now we have good people working with staff and that to get these things done. So I'm not giving a speech here. I'm just saying I'm really emotional about the town doing well and coming around, and it really is. So there's negative parts to it, but there's so much positive in this municipality right now. It's amazing. So I'll let the mayor pick up on that if he'd like, because I know he had something he wanted to say.
Yep.
Thank you, Councillor Anderson, and through you, Madam Chair. I appreciate the opportunity. I'm going to talk. I'm not going to repeat Ron's points. He makes some really good points about the strategic plan and the refresh, and we're sort of heading down the right road. And my battery's failing. I don't know where my cord is, so if I disappear, that's why. We talk about development. We talk about wanting to shift to more business development primarily for taxation purposes. We know we get better bang for our buck from industrial and commercial taxation than residential taxation. At the end of the day, we have to deal with the development proposals that are put in front of us, and we can massage those, and we can encourage other opportunities, but the people who own the land will bring their development proposals forward, and it's council's duty to consider those proposals and work with those developers through our staff to bring those developments forward. Is what we don't want to do is turn our development responsibility over to the Land Use Planning Appeals Tribunal, which is what will happen if we suddenly say, we're not going to develop anymore, we're stopping right now, or nope, we're going to say no to everything or most things. We'll just end up in front of the LPAT, and the LPAT will tell us what's going to happen, and we'll have no say over how those developments move forward. So I continue to encourage our planning staff and our economic development staff to work together to bring those proposals before council. We know we're growing at a record pace, especially from a residential point of view. We know what those impacts are in the community and from a taxation point of view. And we know that we need to bring more business and commercial and industrial growth to the community, both from a service perspective, but also from a taxation perspective. And, as more people come here, those business needs will also come here. And we're sort of at that precipice, I think, where we're going to start seeing more commercial development because we've now got that residential base to spark that business development. So I'm not sure if there's anything anybody doesn't know, but certainly our strategic plan does speak to that. It speaks to that need to shift to more industrial commercial growth, just for sustainability purposes from a financial perspective at the municipal level. So again, I'm not making speeches either on. So over to you, Madam Chair.
If you
Thank
don't,
you, Mr. Mayor.
Libby, I
Karen?
just add. Nope, sorry. Go ahead.
This discussion, itself has just been very helpful to me. I realize now, just being new to the committee, I realize that there is a strategic plan there that we I appreciate the mayor's comments on this. I'm very positive about this. So even this has just been very helpful to me. So thank you.
Okay, thanks, Karen. Ben?
I was just going to add that when you look through the strategic plan, it's all very one goes with the other. So if planning doesn't amend an official plan to stretch the urban boundary to make room for more developable lands, then we're not going to do anything to increase developable lands. And if Public Works doesn't have a forecast to replace water, sewer, roads, replace sidewalks, then it makes my job really hard to attract businesses to this community. So you'll find there's things about trails. A trails committee, I think, is going to be starting here in the fall. There's things, creating this committee was a major objective when I started. So that's now been complete. So I don't know, you'll see what I kind of mean once you kind of get into it. It's a really easy read because it's all segmented into priority, and then the department that's responsible for it, and then the kind of the timeline that we're operating under beside that. So it's really easy to kind of follow and see where we're at the time of when the document was kind of authored, I guess, back in 2019. And when I started in October of 2019, I was given a scrap piece of paper that had a map of the industrial park on it, a couple passwords to the social media, and the talk was, right now we need to get more commercial tax base, so you can figure that out. So that was my 3 objectives, and then I've been using that strategic plan to kind of break things open, and we're hopefully making some headway. Sometimes I don't know, but I think we are. But yeah, so have a look at that. I think it would really enlighten you. And like I said, it's not going to put you to sleep. I think it's really easy to sort of understand what the process is through that document.
Okay, thanks, Ben. Is there any more comments on that topic or any other new business?
I just have one thing. It's not about we're talking about development and all this stuff, and I'm not looking to like open up a huge debate. Just want to maybe put it to you guys and see what you think. Just after doing this like experiential tourism thing, I found that they were really good at like land acknowledgements. And I'm wondering if like it would be a thing to think about for us to acknowledge that, like, before we're talking about all this stuff, you know, where we are. And I don't know if anybody here is familiar with what a land acknowledgement is. I know Ben and probably does, but it's basically just where you acknowledge that we're sitting on like Indigenous territory, and, you know, just maybe it's a thing we can talk about later, but I just thought all this talk about development, and it feels like we should, I would like to do my due diligence and acknowledge that. That's it. That's all I want to say.
Mr. Mayor?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I'm not sure. I know our council and planning meetings require us now to open with a land acknowledgement, and I've been doing that since the very beginning. Can you hear my dog whining in the background? I think maybe our procedure bylaw does speak to committees needing to do that now as well. So maybe check on that if you would, and let's move that forward.
Yep, that's we can work with Jessica and getting that onto the agenda and acknowledging that from here, maybe starting in October.
Okay.
Very quickly, I'm actually meeting with Chief Mowat from Alderville in about an hour and a half. And one of the things I'm going to ask him is, you know, here's our land acknowledgement. Is it appropriate? Is it what we should be doing? So.
Okay, thank you. Karen, did you have anything? I saw you light up there. I didn't know if you were speaking.
Oh,
No?
I must have just lit up from what I was thinking.
Okay, you're just lit up. All right. Okay. Any other business? Last call. No. Okay. All right. Thanks. That was a great discussion. So moving on to the next meeting date, did you want a meeting in October then? Because that would be October 7th, I believe.
Yeah, I think
Every
that's
5 weeks.
I think that's really good timing, and
Okay.
October, November, and then maybe look at December as an off time as we get hopefully busy to a little more normal Christmas.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks everybody. And so we'll have a motion, mover and seconder, to adjourn the meeting. September 2nd meeting. Emily, thank you. And Megan, thank you. All right. Have a great day, everyone.
Have a great day. Yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks.